All right, great to be with everybody again. So we are on the second half of the second season, episode 4. Yes. And we ended up last week at, I'm going to give you the marker if you're tuning in and you're keying up. We stopped at about 32, 30, 35. So I'm going to start us at about 32, 32. Just as a recall your memory, we are looking at the paralytic who was going to the pool of Bethesda to get healed. Remember, the pool would bubble. Well, the belief was that when it bubbled, that there was an angel that would heal the people if they got down into the bubbly water fast enough, and the people would go and they just live by the pool and try to get in. And the man that is the center of attention here, he is a paralytic since he was young, and his brother is Simon the Zealot, and who's left him when he was a boy because he hated the Romans so, and he's gone off and joined a band of merry zealots. And remember, zealotry was a bad thing. There was remember that to be a zealot, if you were in the Jewish population, the zealots were dedicated to purging Israel of all non-believers or those who believed badly. So not only would they would obviously kill Romans or Greeks or anybody else that they didn't like, but they were not above killing any Hebrews. Because if they determined that a Hebrew, a Jew, was not being a good Jew, they would kill him. So in the interesting twist, you might see how this might cause problems. A zealot would be very happy to kill, a tax collector like Matthew. So zealots were not trusted by anybody. They were feared across the board as long as they were killing the right people, but you never knew, right? So Simon has been charged with by his handlers after years and years and years of murder training to go and kill a Roman official, and he is going to town to do that. He is the head of the assassination crew. What he doesn't know is that the official has been replaced by a Roman operative who knows who he is and is posing as the official, so that when he's attacked by Simon, he can kill Simon, because that's really what he wants to do very badly. So that's coming to a head. Will?
We're getting to that part. We didn't watch that already.
No, we didn't watch that already, but he's spoken about that in the his plan, which is coming up. He said it last week. The other thing is that the what you may or may not remember was, maybe he didn't say that. I don't know if he said that or not. I'll say it because I don't remember. But Simon said that he would not he'd not change his course of life until the Messiah came. And the Messiah is the only way he'd see the Messiah coming is if his brother walked. So you see where this is going. We have other things happening with the disciples. There's a lot, but remember 2 weeks ago, there's a lot of infighting and backbiting, and they're really going at it. And they're just beginning to realize that their very tiny view of the world and very small view of the understanding of Christ, of the Messiah, needs to be exploded, needs to be expanded. And they're fighting that like we all do. But they are very slowly beginning to open up. And if you watch closely, what's going on here is as this week draws to a close, this is a primary lesson going on in this episode. All right, so if you are joining us, and you've got to go away now and watch it on YouTube and come back, so we'll see you in just like a few seconds or something like that.
He knew where his brother was for 25 years, and he didn't go to do anything to help him because of his their rules.
You see the crash of cultures at the pool, like they were talking on the road, where it was a pre-pagan pool.
Mhm.
but then was adopted as a Jewish place of belief. And as it existed at that point was kind of a mash of the two. So it carried with it this legacy of belief system that came forward and forward and forward. And the one could claim, and I would say, I propose it would be true, that for the pagan around the pool, they didn't care about the Jewish belief. And the Jew around the pool didn't care about the pagan belief because they were there for the same thing. They were there to be healed.
Mhm.
So the people who really cared about what the pool was about, of being offensive or wrong, like Simon the brother, or even the disciples as they walked on the road about it being a pagan place, they were the people who didn't need the pool.
Mhm.
And they were the ones that found it offensive, right? Or they disagreed with it. It's also interesting that the Sadducees or the Pharisees were there at the pool.
Yeah.
So why were they there?
Yeah.
What were they doing there?
Seemed very convenient, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were there. They were there to do exactly what they did. They're like they're the thought police.
Hmm.
And they're
Morality police.
morality police. Yes. They are there looking for someone who's going to break the rule.
Mhm.
They're ready to pounce and get them. Now, I said this before, we have to be really offended by the Pharisees and what they do, but at the same time, we have to be a little sympathetic because they really believe what they're doing. Isn't that what we're faced with in the world all the time? That people really, that's what a zealot is, right? Somebody who really, really believes what they are doing, that what they're doing is right. So the Pharisees really believe what they're doing is right. They're not putting on a show just because they want to wear fancy robes and go to school. That's not it at all.
I found it interesting how, like, kind of like with the like this was one guy who didn't really know what was happening. The guy crashing through the roof, like, knew it was Jesus and believed in the beginning. He knew this guy could do it. This guy had no idea what was going on, and Jesus just had a really interesting way of kind of saying, "Do you want to be healed?" and like not really answering his question, and kind of making him feel bad, like he's there to trick him or something. When he said, "Are you going to carry me in the water?" and Jesus said no. Like, that was just kind of interesting how I did that.
Yeah. Everybody else get that whole?
Yeah, that was the thing. The
Yeah.
first time I watched it that drew me into it. It was like, you believe these things that you've been told all your life, that this is supposed to heal you, this is supposed to heal you, and then you are trampled by people, you're trampled by that actual thing that's supposed to heal you, and then you're still believing in it all the time, and it never comes to pass. So Jesus asking that simple question, do you want to be healed, was eye-opening. I mean, it was a simple question. The guy averted it, and then he asked the second time, and he said yes, and he was healed. It's a simple answer, yes or no. I mean, not, oh, I tried this many times, people were trampling me, going to the water, blah, blah, blah. It's just a simple answer, yes or no.
I think Jesus said, you don't need the pool, you don't need any of this, all you need is me. And the cripple's faith, the faith in believing that all he needed was Jesus, enabled him to be healed.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. Yep.
Well, William's comment and your comments are making the point that struck me was at the very end. I missed a good portion of the midsection because I took a phone call for one of Paul's Fleming's family that have called here. So I missed it. So what I started with was Bill's comment about the pool and how it's the angels and the stirring up of the water at a certain time is what brings on the healing. And then Will's comment just now about stirring of the water. And did anyone else catch Jesus's face as he's walking away and he tells his disciples who also are, you know, skeptical and not trusting, sometimes you just got to stir up the water.
Yeah.
So that's what he said just seems so weighted and symbolic to me. Because apparently it's the stirred water that is the healing water, not just the flat, tranquil water. And then that's like what his whole ministry was about, was literally stirring water that would heal, but also very metaphorically stirring up, turning everything on its head really, and stirring it all up so that people would wake up to his truth, or be healed or whatever. But
Was also stirring it up toward the ultimate goal of Jesus here on earth,
mhm.
which was the unfortunate end of his life.
Yes, he was bringing it all down in his head, just as it is has been ordained to happen. Like, that's why I thought his expression was kind of wild, because, you know, that's the whole issue, is did Jesus know what was to come? How far in advance did Jesus know what was to come?
Well,
There's the whole Gethsemane acceptance of what is just imminent, but how far through his ministry was he aware of what was to come, and that he was part of it? He was taking actions to fly in the face of accepted tradition to accelerate the process of his crucifixion.
well, I think you missed it, but when he was walking to get into the city, passing through the checkpoint, they had public crucifixions on the side of the road, and it
Wow.
kind of slowed down there for a second. And yeah, but your comment just now reminded me, stirring up of the water to the wine. Of stirring up that
That's
water.
what I
to
thought of
wine.
when I saw him say
Yeah.
that, but after we were discussing it in a more metaphorical way. Yeah. That's cool.
I thought part of the scripture that the man was reading from Zephaniah was fulfilled, because he mentioned saving the lame. And that lame man was basically saved. Oh no.
Yeah, that's exactly why Simon stopped. Because that was, and you see, I'm sure you caught that was the scripture that he was listening to at the temple.
Yeah.
The priest was reading, just happened to be reading that day. And then his brother had the parchment that his goodbye note in which he wrote that scripture. And then to see him walking, fulfilled the scripture.
Yeah.
And he was true to his word. Remember, he said when he walked away, he said, I stand by that.
Mhm.
So when he saw his brother, Jesse, he stopped. He left everything.
Mhm.
Walked
Just
away.
in the nick of time.
Sounds like a plan, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds
Yes.
like God's plan.
So much going on about both Jesse and Simon have put God into a little box, or a little definition, they have God, a God, the God, very neatly critiqued. And this is what God does. And so this is the role I have to play to facilitate God doing what God does. And this is why when Jesus said to him, why are you still here? And he said, I don't know, because he went there with God in this very small critique, this box, and played his part. But you see how faith like this can be self-defeating, because what would have happened if he got in the water and it bubbled and he was the first one and it didn't work? You know, this happens to people all the time. People have family members that are ill, or they have problems for themselves, or they have other issues in their life, almost always tragic. And they say, I'm a believer, I have faith, and God's going to do this thing. And as long as they stay away from the actuality of God doing it, they can continue to have faith. But if they finally reach the goal, even if by mistake, and I've met people who've done this, they've avoided the moment where God would do what God was going to do. They've avoided it for this very reason. They've mistakenly arrived at that moment and God has not done it. And they're faced with the choice of continuing to believe or having a shattered faith. And more times than not, it leads to a shattered faith. It leads to people walking away from the church, walking away from God, walking away from belief. And they live out their life angry and resentful and broken by this. And Jesse was all of those things, just kind of faithful in it, faithfully broken, to the point where his faith in the thing was so important that he didn't even remember why. He just had to stay the course. And isn't Simon the same? His belief that God will come and that the Messiah will make a difference is hinged on this small group of passages in Scripture that say you have to kill everybody to do the right thing, to be the right thing, which is what we're dealing with today, right, in the Middle East.
Yeah.
The zealots that we have there, the small passage and interpretation of scriptures that say this is the way you have to facilitate God being God. And I think Jay said it. You notice that when Jesus asked Jesse the question, first of all, that whole line of talk, that whole Q&A thing between Jesus, what was it refreshing? I'm not the only one, am I? So refreshing that Jesse's got all this stuff going on. And Jesus is like, yep, I didn't answer my question. I know all that's happening, but I'm asking this. This is the thing that's got to cut to your heart, not mine. This has got to get through all of the stuff that you've built up, the protection and the layers and the years and the depression and the disappointment. And we've got to cut this all open up or open up the box, the small character of God, critique of God, open this up. Slowly, Jesus is just cutting through this to open this up, to say, you've got to answer this question, because laying here on the cement it's not an answer. And you notice the second or the last time he said, so you want to be healed. What did Jesse say? Nothing. He didn't say anything. He didn't say yes. He just looked at Jesus, and Jesus said, okay, get up, let's go. The yes that he finally got to, where nothing else mattered, was in here and did not require speaking. In the same way, it did not require Jesus to touch the man or to, who'd he do over him or anything. It was simply the interaction between the heart and the spirit of the man and God. That's all it took. That's all that was required. Honest communication between God and the individual. Now, remember, there are all these miracles that I want a miracle too. And the miracle is going to be the best way for God to really show God's self out there in the world. But remember, the miracle that we get may be, how about this one? What if Jesse, change the story now, you tell me. Jesse's lying by the pool. All these things are still true for Jesse. All the stuff about him not getting in the water, all the depression, all of this, this corrupted brokenness of life and this faith. And Jesus asks him this question, you want to be healed? And inside, he answers that question for the first time, truly and honestly, without all of the accoutrement, all of the stuff that's been piled on top of that answer. He finally gets back down to the center of his faith. And Jesus says, okay, fantastic. And he turns around and walks away. He doesn't tell Jesse to get up. And Jesse doesn't walk. Was there a miracle there? Did anything happen of value in that
It
moment?
was his faith.
Yeah. Remember how this started with Shmuel? I think, Willie, you said lowering the guy through the roof when Shmuel was watching through the window. Remember that?
Yes.
And he healed the guy, or he forgave the guys his sins. And that's all he did. The guy wanted to be healed. He said, "I forgive you." And they said, "You can't do that." He says, "What do you think is more important? Forgiving the man his sin? Or saying, pick up your mat and walk?" Okay, so that you can believe. Not him. He's already forgiven. He believes. So that you can believe that the Son of Man can do this thing, I'll say, get up, take your mat and walk away. The miracle, the true gift was giving the man back his spirit, giving the man back his hope, giving the man back the clarity of his spirit's eyes, his mind, his heart to see and know who God is. That was the gift. The other thing was just on top of it, and it was for everybody else. So now look at the miracle at the pool. When did Jesus do it?
Shabbat.
Sabbath.
In front of who?
All the Pharisees.
All the Pharisees. So he's given the man back his spirit, and he's done the same thing that he did for the guy lower down through the roof. The man now can walk, but that wasn't the greater gift. The greater gift was this opening his heart, opening his spirit, and giving him back his relationship with God. Whatever happened to his body then was just added stuff. The greater miracle was the gift that he gave. Yeah, stirring up the water. I love it. Jenny pushed that button about the water of baptism for John in the Jordan, right? The water to wine, water in the pool, and Jesus making that critique. Sometimes you just got to stir up the water. So he's saying this is the pool, the people. We say that too, don't we? Is the phrase we use. Just got to stir the pot. Got to stir the pot. The people are the pot. The community is the pot. That needs to be stirred. And what is he saying? He's saying the stirring of the pot is what is required. It was a requirement for Jesse to come to this moment in time so that all of that could be stripped away. So Jesus is saying, look, we're stirring the water here. And the stirring of the water is what's going to bring people. They're going to bring people to this moment. But in the moment, or at a moment in this bringing, all of that will be taken away. All of that will be cleared away. All the reasons why they are believing and not believing and coming and not coming and saying this is a pagan place or this is a blessed place will all be stripped away, because you don't need any of that. All you need is me. It's a fantastic message. What an amazing illustration of this Bible lesson, of this event in Scripture. And if we can take this home, this greater miracle of the centering of our heart and our spirit, that's the one to hold on to, especially for the next week. Let's make that homework. So let that be homework for this week, to hold on to that center place of finding back, stripping through all of the accoutrements. So I guess to do that, then you have to ask, what's your stirred water place? Where is the place in your life that you have characterized God to be God and do what God does? Then you have to be the person that you are in that place. Or, there's another side of that. I'm afraid what God's going to do if I'm not the person I am. I'm not sure I'm ready for God to be God to me in the way that God can be, that the way that God can change lives. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. And so I am who I am in relationship to God. So that doesn't happen. So where is that place of the storm that we need to cut through and let God be God and get back to the core of our hope and our recognition of Christ in our life. Yeah, it's good homework. All right, any last words before we go?
We're all good.
All good, everybody? All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to see some of you in Bible study. I can tell you, if you're on tomorrow night, we're doing the book of Revelation, and we're hitting this 144,000. If you guys have heard that bopped around, and you've got people coming to your front door, one of twice in your life saying 144,000, then come on tomorrow just for this one time and learn about the 144, because it's really cut and dry, very clear. But we're going to take a little deeper dive off the left side of the diving board and land into the pool of Ezekiel to try to get to a little better understanding of what this passage means and help us understand a little bit of Ezekiel, who can be really rough at times if you've read that book. So come on, if you don't normally go and you want to take a dip your toe in for a little bit, that's fine. That'd be great. If not, then God bless you all, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday morning, hopefully.
Good night, everyone. Have a nice
Good
night.
night.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mom.